There, I did the Haikyuu reference. I've met my quota, so let's just move on.
We opened this week with Asmi, Ravlin, and Latte checking out their new favorite show, sports anime starring the anime Tensho playing beach volleyball.
I'd rather watch cute anime girls compete in rock climbing. Yes, I have trash taste. You have a problem with that?
But yeah, they were watching a very cliched sports anime complete with overdramatic line delivery and reactions, the coaches spouting inconsequential platitudes, and a bunch of dramatically shot oceans. What, no Toei logo? Come on guys, don't move away from tradition. Anyway, considering this wasn't in 4x3, I'm also gonna assume this was some sort of remake of an old sports manga.
As if we didn't have enough of those already. I would show some Western examples, but then we'd be here all day.
I'm also gonna assume it was a 5-minute anime since it was over and done with within the blink of an eye. I guess the producers didn't have a lot of confidence in it. Still, Rablin and Latte loved it and wanted to emulate it. Meanwhile, in the Byoken Kingdom, Guaiwaru was pondering ways of creating something that would best reflect the greatness of his current evolved form. He was so deep in thought that he actually started to look like the famous Thinker statue. Nice little touch there. Back with the Precure, they used Asumi's portal powers, which, yeah, I kinda forgot that was a thing too. Anyway, they used it to warp to a secluded island, and okay, am I the only one who sees that scary face that's just there?
Enjoy seeing that in your nightmares tonight.
Obviously, they were there to fulfill Latte and Rablin's wish to live out their little sports anime, and I guess they couldn't go to any of their local beaches due to current times. Where did all the sunshine go? There, they were greeted by a sea elemental who wished them the best.
Thanks a lot, little piece of the Pacific. I look forward to you not being relevant for the remainder of this episode.
Yeah, I had actually read that the March of the Week was going to be a Mega Byogen, more on that later, so I was kind of expecting this little guy to become the victim of the week, but nope, this is kind of a pointless little detail. Little details that I did like were the Precure's luggage that kind of reflected their general personalities. Chiyu, the obsessive overthinker, brought a huge sack that, as we later see, was probably carrying some serious hardware. Fashionable Hinata had a rolling bag, the still kind of frail Nodoka brought a tiny backpack, and Asumi just brought Latte. I do appreciate the little things sometimes. Anyway, after they got changed, loved Chiyu's ponytail and Hinata's space buns, they stretched and were going to go for a swim, but were stopped by a bunny who named herself their new volleyball coach. Oh, and Latte was going to act as their head coach or director, which, yeah, I get that they're cosplaying as those guys from that anime, but when I see a hat and goatee, I end up thinking of one of my personal idols. Thus, under the direction of Steven Dogsberg, they began their drills.
Let me guess, you wanted to get Tropical Rouge off to an early start? And that's it for my obvious stroke quota.
Anyway, for the most part, our heroines quickly took to the sport, except of course for the still athletically inexperienced Nodoka. Nice to see them keeping that consistent. However, her partner gave her some surprisingly practical advice on how to make an overhand pass. Hell, a lot of it was better than anything I ever got out of my coaches.
By the way, this week's episode was written by Saoka Hirabayashi, whom I have brought up a few times in these reviews. And while I don't think she's been a great writer for Precure so far, she might be a little bit more in her element here. Yep, she actually has written for sports anime, just not volleyball. Yes, she has not only scripted episodes across all 3 seasons of Kuroko, but she also wrote the light novel spin-off Replace. I almost get the feeling like she requested they do an episode like this, and if she did, all the more power to her.
Anyway, even Hinata was surprised that Rablin didn't give her some more over-the-top advice out of your average sports manga.
You say that, even though you were clearly watching something based off of a Showa manga.
I especially love the scene as Asumi clarified that everything Rablin said was a quote from that anime, and yet the bunny still kept going. Great dry humor. At the same time, after ironically being inspired by Toji when he was emulating that same anime and hit Guaiwaru, he thought to create his own sports anime protagonist to reflect his own evolution. Brilliant! And since those guys usually start off as underdogs, he decided to go back to the basics and create a Mega instead of a Giga Byogen, which he made out of a coconut tree. Again, while this all kind of makes sense, at least when it comes to Guairar, why introduce that pointless sea elemental? Well, whatever, the monster's appearance almost made Latte sneeze until...
Nekomaru, what are you doing here?
But yeah, since the infection had been localized to just the tree, Latte's allergies were unable to detect them, thus giving Guaiwaru plenty of time to act as the ultimate team manager. Again, great humor through an effective subversion of expectations. And after a few more cliches, lampshading, and a barbecue, I'm guessing that's what was in that huge sack, Latte's radar finally went off as the Mega Byoken managed to finish its training. The Precure encountered it and jeez. Guairar, did you lace some of your players' food with a certain something? Anyway, the Precure engaged the monster in their usual fashion, or at least Hinata did. Everyone else insisted on playing along.
You know an episode's gone off the deep end when Hinata has to play the straight man.
Yep, I think this was the scene Hirabayashi really wanted to write, as it was just a barrage of sports anime cliches with everyone except for Hinata taking it way too seriously. Nodoka might have cheated a little by using a foreign object, but Chiyu did perfectly fine as Inazuma 11 has established that superpowers are acceptable.
By the way, this week's animation director was Mikio Fujiwara.
While he's usually relegated to stock animations, when given free range, Miki can produce scenes with incredible senses of speed and some impressive effects, which is definitely the name of the game when it comes to this episode.
Alright, you know what? I'm going to count this as a Hinata episode. She and Guaiwa have been the best part of this whole damn thing.
Eventually, the game was almost called off when they ran out of balls, but Nodoka managed to provide one with her harvest element. From there, our heroines did a classic Gold Ranger formation, and defeated it with Nodoka's regular finisher, a nice change-up that makes sense. And with that, this sudden sports anime parody ended with a genuinely nice moment with a team huddle.
This was a fun little filler episode, clearly meant to be a love letter to classic sports anime and manga, which again, considering who the writer was, makes too much sense. I do kind of wish they went a little bit more over the top, but for what it was a fun time.
Considering that we are in the mid-30s of this show, I'm willing to accept some more inconsequential filler episodes, especially after having so many plot-relevant episodes almost back-to-back. My only real rule being that they have to at least be fun, which this certainly was for the most part. I got a lot of laughs out of stuff like Asumi's dry humor, Guairar's training, and just the whole fight/volleyball game. I'll admit, I don't actually watch a lot of sports anime, but I know enough of the tropes and cliches that I got a serious kick out of all of this. Again, I can enjoy something goofy as long as they do establish it shouldn't be taken too seriously, which this episode did, mostly thanks to Hinata's many witty comebacks. While I know this technically wasn't a Hinata episode that's actually next week, I think she and Guairar stole the show. The former showing a surprisingly sensible side for once, and the latter building himself up as an enjoyable, boisterous brute. He tried to turn a Monster of the Week into a shonen anime protagonist. That's just so gloriously stupid that it puts him on par with Westar in my book. Now granted, I think this is a good, though not great episode. There was some needless padding like the sea elemental, and it didn't quite have the energy a sports anime parody should have, though too much energy can be dangerous too. All in all though, I think it's safe to say the staff must have had a lot of fun making this, especially the Kuroko writer, so I see nothing wrong with enjoying it as much as they clearly did.
If you haven't seen it yet, I did a little reaction to the staff listings and trailer for the upcoming Healin Good/Yes5 spring crossover film. I will say it does look technically promising so far, even though I'm not totally sold on the whole crossover thing just yet, but we'll see how it turns out. For now though, I'm also working on the second part of my Symphogear Axis review, which is surprisingly almost done. Yeah, I might have it out as early as this week, as long as Toei doesn't throw any more wrenches into my video making schedule with any more significant announcements that I know y'all will want me to talk about, which I will if it comes down to it. Still, look forward to it. Until then though, for now my friends, and you know what? Maybe I'll try this whole volleyball thing out. Let me just find the ball here. Okay, this'll do. Alright, here we go. Just gonna whoop. And I think I just knocked over a lamp. It was the only ball I had, okay?